Hello, my name is Angie Cristina Ospina. In this video, I am going to talk about my research process applied in my teaching practice scenario, represent in the following poster. The name of my research project is creating a podcast to improve oral skills in students of the English 2 course. The problem found in my group of students was the difficult in developing oral skill. For my students, were difficult to to describe your daily routine or to describe your family, or for example, in some class were difficult for them describe an image or describe a simple situation. Um, in my scenario, I work with a group of 5 students with whom I applied my project and research based on the creation of podcasts to improve oral skills. Um, the materials I used were pre-test and post-tests. Uh, I I used pre-test and post-test in my class for evaluate oral skills, for example, vocabulary, pronunciation, and fluency. Um, I use rubrics to evaluate the podcast that will be created, surveys to collect information about students' perception of the use of podcast, observe class, production and presentation of podcast, and podcast link to podcast created by students. The method of my qualitative and quantitative approach was MICE. Science, I used the qualitative and quantitative method. At the beginning of the class, I applied pretest, the pretest survey to find out the students' strengths and weakness, and in this way find out which skill was more difficult for them. In this case, the ability is speaking, and daily observations of the class were also made to find out the progress and impact of the podcast on students. And in the final stage of the project, a post survey was applied to find out the students' progress and also the perception about the podcast and also the improvement in your oral ability. In the results, this entire process allow me to obtain the results of my research project, which I consider which were favorable and significant, since it can be observed that the students had a moderate improvement in their oral skills and in other factors such as pronunciation and fluency, vocabulary, coherence, and confidence when speaking. Um, you can see this in these results of my survey applied with my group of students. Moderate improvement in confidence, fluency, vocabulary, coherence. This is the results of my research project. And finally, it can be concluded that the podcasts are a great strategy to improve oral skills in the classroom, but it is important to mention that to obtain more significant results, it is necessary to specify a longer time for the application of podcast creation to obtain better progress, but this process was successful and the objectives proposed at the beginning of the project were achieved. Thank you very much. Bye bye.